Welcome to the Seattle area. Are you thinking about moving to Seattle, Bellevue, Everett, the beautiful Pacific Northwest, and you're kind of evaluating which neighborhoods you want to live in? Well, in this video, we are going to talk about what's hot, what's not, what was the past, what's the future, and where you can go to have the best shot at building some instant equity in your new home purchase. Hi, this is Emily Cressy, and I am an analytical but still friendly real estate agent here in the Seattle area. And if you are ready to geek out with me a little bit, we are going to go through some data and some neighborhoods and talk about where you can live in the Seattle area to hopefully see your home as a good investment opportunity. Now, obviously, this is something that changes with time. We've come through a very hot market cycle. We've come through a very slow market cycle. Now we'll see where it goes in the future, right? Tuning up our crystal ball, seeing what happens next. But the idea here is kind of using these trends of the past to predict what's likely to happen in the future. I also want to speak a little bit to lifestyle, because buying a house in the Seattle area is not just something that we do to make money. At least some people want to enjoy where they live. They want to have a certain lifestyle, whether that's a rooftop deck at their condo looking out over the beautiful Seattle city skyline, whether that's walking to work or the light rail to make their commute easy, whether it's good access to bicycling trails, parks, and hiking for things they like to do on the weekend, or maybe you just want to have a nice spot where you can go have a cup of coffee with your dog on a sidewalk cafe somewhere on a beautiful sunny Saturday morning. So let's dive into what some of the hottest neighborhoods are and what neighborhoods I think will be looking good for the future. Now, before we get into that, I just want to thank you so much for visiting my channel. We're living in Seattle. I've lived here all my life, except for when I went to college, but then I came back with a husband, so made up for that time and raising our kids here in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. So I'm a real estate agent. I love especially helping people who are relocating to the area, who are investing in the area, and of course, my friends and neighbors who already live in the area. But really, this channel is for the first two groups of people who are interested in learning more about the Seattle lifestyle and the investment opportunity that it offers. So today in this video, we're going to get into the nitty-gritty. I just want to invite you to comment if you have any questions, or if you want to share an opinion that's contrary to mine. I welcome it. I'd love to get into a discussion about that with you. And of course, if you would like to reach me personally, you can always contact me over the phone, email, or reach me through my website, homeproassociates.com. So here's the good news. Take a look with me at this graph that was generated by the Northwest MLS, our real estate website only for real estate agents. And you can kind of see behind the scenes what these growth charts look like for the Seattle area. So we're going back 10 years. And you can see 10 years ago, these were the median home prices in the different areas. The Snohomish County area is just north of King County, where both Seattle and Bellevue are located. And this tends to be a more affordable, slightly longer drive to get into the city, but still nice and highly desirable area. It's a large county. Obviously, some places are going to be really close to downtown, and some places are going to be really far away, depending on what part of the county you live in. And then we have Seattle, which is the city of Seattle itself, and Bellevue, which is the city of Bellevue itself, which are both including those downtown core areas, which tend to be, kind of the center of everything. And of course, the urban suburbs surrounding that. Typically, historically, we've seen the closer you are to the downtown, the more expensive the prices tend to be, because people want that short commute. So here I'm trying to give you a broad range of the close-in homes as well as the farther out homes. And what we can see is that this is 10 years ago. In 2013, we had median home prices of $269,000 in Snohomish County, $446,000 in Seattle, and $608,000 in Bellevue. And they had quite a run up during the low interest rate times during COVID, and have settled back down again, but quite an investment growth for 10 years, especially when you consider that most of us did not put 20% down to buy our property. So most homeowners here have seen a large amount of appreciation debt pay down during that time, and have a lot of equity to show for their time investing in Seattle. So this is just going to show that no matter where you are, like which particular house, which particular neighborhood, these areas have been a strong investment for the last 10 years, and we hope to see this continue. I think as long as the data goes back as only 16 years. And we did have a dip like everyone else after that kind of 2008 crash when it was foreclosures and short sales and that type of thing. But overall, we've had a nice, steady, safe price climb during that time. Now, that being said, that's just kind of real estate investing in Seattle. It's an appreciation market, and it tends to do very well without as much up and down as some of the more cyclical markets that I see in places like California and Hawaii. Now let's take a look at a map. So here we are within the MLS, and this is the state of Washington, which you can see through here. And I've screened down the properties to just show essentially $1 million properties, so you can kind of get an idea of the distribution. They really tend to be focused here around the Puget Sound area, and it's Seattle and Bellevue, our downtown areas here and here, which tend to be the epicenter because those are the employment centers. That's where most people want to live nearby. Now, right near the downtown areas, we're having high rises, high population density, condo living, and that type of thing, which is certainly not for everybody. But what we're seeing here is only single family houses. So if you do want to live in a freestanding house that's around $1 million, these are the places that you can find them. Essentially, they're everywhere, but you're going to see fewer of them here on the east side of Lake Washington, because this is a more expensive area. The median home price in this area is actually $1.4 million right now. And so $1 million is a little bit low for us to be finding single family homes here. On the other side in Seattle, you're going to see the median home price to be closer to $800,000. So we will see homes at $800,000, $900,000, and $1 million plus. Now, I want to show you something really cool that is inside of a proprietary software that I have access to. So this will quickly become out of date, and you will need updated information depending on when you watch this. So what I'd like for you to do is either subscribe, get your own subscription to this service, or you can contact me and I can let you know what the data is showing us. But essentially right now, just to get you oriented, this is where I live, this little flag right here. I'm about half an hour outside of Seattle. So you could imagine, you know, a little circle here. This would be about the commute into Seattle. That's a half-hour radius. We've got the big city of Seattle with the Space Needle, all the tall buildings. We've got the little city of Bellevue with some skyscrapers there. The whole east side of the lake has tended to be very popular and more expensive. And what I've done is I rewound time to December of 2019, and I'm going to turn on my color coding here. And so you can see in this area over here, the legend gives us what we're looking at here is the months of inventory. So essentially the red means a hot market. We have less inventory. It means it's more of a seller's market. So red means a hot market. Orange is still good. Yellow is still good. Green is actually, this light green color is still good. Once we get into this sort of blue, this is 5 to 6 months of inventory. That's kind of the range at which the experts say that it switches from a seller's market into a buyer's market, a market favoring buyers where buyers can negotiate more aggressively on price. And Seattle tends to always be going up. It tends to always be favoring sellers, but of course, you know, that can vary by location. And there have been times in the past where, you know, like following the crash in 2008, when that certainly wasn't the case. So I'm not trying to make any claims that it will always go up in the future. That's just the tendency of what I've seen over the time that I've been living here. Now, I'm going to turn this on, I think. We're going to animate it, and we'll see the colors change as time goes by. And this kind of dense area with all of these numbers is where you want to focus. That's the greater Seattle area. And so we'll see how hot it got during COVID, and then what's happening now. So month by month, it's changing. We're going into 2020. That dip where it went bad was when COVID was announced and the shutdowns and everything. they lowered interest rates in response to that, and you can just see the whole darn thing lit up as a red area. This is 2021 spring, peak of the market, starts to cool off again in the summer, heating up in the fall and cooling off again, although not much last year. This is spring. This is the peak of the market. And then into the summer, they started cranking up interest rates. And you can see how quickly that had a cooling effect on the whole area. Now, this is where we are right now with December 2022 data. Actually, today's the 1st of February 2023. So we just have our latest data coming out, and you can see how things cooled off so quickly after we had that change in interest rates. Now, interest rates have started to come down again. That's a point in favor of the market improving. We've had the spring season, which is typically our strongest time of year, and people have just kind of gotten used to the higher interest rates the way they are. So I think we're looking at different experts have predicted different things. Some people think the market will be flat in 2023. Some people think it will be going down in value 5%, 10% more. We've already seen a 20 to 30% fall from the peak. Remember the peak here when it was all red? This was when prices were the highest, and then prices started falling during this time. And so now looking at months of inventory, we still don't have a lot. This has not gone blue or purple or anything like that. So we can zoom in here a little bit and see what's happening kind of in the heart of Seattle. So overall, we see this North Seattle area continuing to be strong. We see the Woodinville, Redmond area continuing to be strong. And we see down here the Renton Highlands and along the water here continuing to be strong. Interestingly, throughout the pandemic, it was the luxury neighborhoods I'll turn this down a little bit, I think. Some of these luxury neighborhoods like Medina, Mercer Island, this is where the ultra $5 million plus properties are. These areas tended to be soft. People didn't want to pay a premium to live there anymore. And the downtown core tended to be soft. We've seen in the face of everybody going up 20% a year, condos in downtown Seattle were losing value because people did not want to pay to live downtown and be locked in and cramped in their tiny condo walking to work when they didn't have to go to work. They were supposed to be in that tiny condo working all day. So that condo lifestyle became significantly less desirable, as did the luxury high-end lifestyle. A lot of people preferred to work remotely from other states. They didn't want to pay a premium to be in these luxury neighborhoods near the downtown area. What we also saw during that time was that a lot of these far out of the city areas that were more than an hour's drive to get into the city, those became very popular. You could spend less money and get more land and a nicer house living farther away because you didn't have to go to work every day, or maybe when you came back to work, you'd only be going into the office once a week or something like that. So you're willing to put up for a longer drive once a week, knowing that you're no longer having this 9-to-5 lifestyle. Now that's starting to change. Some employers are starting to become more strict about that. So we'll see how that evolves in the next couple of years to see if coming back to work brings life up into these areas. But currently, the downtown Seattle area is undervalued. The areas that did really well during COVID, that were these exo suburbs, they were the first to go up and they went up the most, but now they're also going down the most because people are like, oh, I have to go to work. Well, I'm not going to live 2 hours away then. I want to be a little bit closer in. There's not as much demand for like a mountain cabin or a vacation house to work from and that type of thing. So what we're seeing at the moment is that some of these wealthier, especially over here on the east side by Bellevue, by Redmond and Microsoft, a lot of this expensive tech area has come down quite a bit. When we look at our market stats, this was the area that went up quite a bit. And the steeper it is, the faster it went up. And the steeper it is, the faster it came down. So now the market's not crashing. We're at the same point that we were a year ago. So it's not the end of the world, but it's just interesting to note that we kind of erased a lot of those gains from 2022. Now let's look at what's selling right now. I've switched this to days on market. So this tells us how quickly things are selling once they come on the market. And as I make this video, we're using December data. This is the lowest period of the year, the slowest time of the year. So I anticipate that this will pick up quite a bit in the spring season that we're moving into now. And that being said, you can still see yellow is good. 45 days on market. No one thinks that that's super slow. Orange, even better. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yellow is 60 to 75 days on market. Orange, 45 to 60 days on market. And red is less than 45 days on market. So this little area here in Linwood it looks like that's a pocket where things are going especially well. And the Linwood area is seeing a lot of new construction. They're having a light rail stop from our train that goes from the airport through Seattle up here. That's going to be opening in 2024. So there's been a ton of new building and new construction, lots of interest in that area. Now I switched over to which locations are seeing a price drop. So an indication of a price drop means that somebody overpriced the home. It's not selling. It's getting it to be a stale listing, and people are having to lower their asking price in order to get the home sold. Now, what do we see actually? Like, who's going to be listing their property in December? Who's going to be listing their property at Thanksgiving? Usually these are not like the best, most premium homes. It's people who have to move for some particular reason, maybe a job, a family emergency, something like that. It's estate sale homes. These are often homes that have been owned by the same person for 30 or more years. They're not updated. They're not in great condition. They weren't prepped for sale. In a lot of cases, people just empty out their grandmother's house and they put it on the market in as-is condition. And it's also new construction homes. So this is, the builder is building a group of 10 homes or 100 homes and the market changes. It doesn't matter. He's got metrics he has to meet. He's selling them all throughout the year. He's releasing them every week and he's pricing them accordingly to get his profit maximized, which includes not letting them linger on the market for overly long. So looking at this data, we still see lots of red in here, which indicates that there are still strong areas here. It looks like homes in the Bellevue area, the Redmond area, are not having to drop price in order to get sold. And then these orange areas here in Ballard, up by Edmonds, kind of these waterfront areas are continuing to do well. Novelty Hill, Tiger Mountain, East Renton Highlands, all of this looks really good. The places that are weaker are these exo suburbs out in Woodinville, Duval, Maltby, kind of the places that are a little too far away to get into Seattle easily from. And interestingly, we're seeing a lot in the same place that we saw fast days on market here. We are seeing a lot of price drops. So that could be a little something funky happening with new construction in the area. Where is it affordable? Nowhere. Everything is over $500,000. Where are the most sales happening? It looks like they're happening here on the east side of I-5 from Mukilteo, Mill Creek, Maltby, and down along the highways here. We're not seeing as much transactions in the higher end properties along the east side of Lake Washington or Puget Sound area. And down here is Issaquah. That's been a popular area where it still has space for new construction. Where are you going to get the bigger properties? The red indicates larger square footage homes. So if you have like 5 kids or you want an acreage or you want some bigger properties, single family homes, you're going to want to look in some of these red areas. Now, Edmonds Woodway is going to be expensive, but this is showing you like 2,700 square feet. The older homes here in Seattle, you're getting closer into town, but you're buying something smaller. This may be reflective of condos, or it may be reflective of older homes that were built in the 1920s, 1940s, 1960s, when people just lived in smaller homes. This red-sized property, I would say, is indicative of what I would think of as more rural areas. Now, this is the last map I'm going to share with you, and this is actually a really powerful screen, but it's based on quarterly data that is released in arrears. So right now we're only able to see Q3 2022, which is when the market was really falling rapidly. That being said, it still gives us a relative idea of where the strength is in the market and where it isn't going into the future. So I'm just having no screens on here because I want you to get oriented that this is Seattle and this is Bellevue. Now I'm going to turn on the color and you'll be able to see where the relative areas of strength and weakness are. So whereas before we saw a lot of red is good and blue is not as good. So this is looking at a weakening market again in the falling times of 2022. And what we're looking at here is inflation adjusted annual home price appreciation. So when we say, oh, my house went up 5% last year, we need to look at that relative to inflation. If we had a $100,000 house that's now worth $105,000, we can say that the price went up 5%, right? But what was inflation during that time? In a typical year, we might see inflation at 3%. And so the house appreciated an additional 2% on top of that to reach a 5% appreciation goal. However, during this period of time, we are having very high appreciation. Some people thought it was appreciating 8%. Some people thought it was appreciating 20% or inflating 8% or 20% a year based on, food, eggs, gas, all the cost of everything going up, the money supply being so out of control that just costs were going up. So when we saw that $100,000 house go to $110,000 or $120,000, we could feel really good about that. But if the buying power of our money was also eroded by the same percentage, we didn't actually gain anything in terms of wealth. So what this data does is it corrects for inflation and looks for appreciation or